My talk explores digitalization of animal-assisted reading. And my co-authors, as you can see, are a large group of professionals engaged in projects of animal-assisted reading in Israel and Russia. So animal-assisted activities are any use of trained animals for motivational, educational, or therapeutic benefit of participants. And this is opposed to animal-assisted therapy, which is a more focused term, which refers to the use of trained animals by trained health professionals to facilitate specific measurable goals for individual patients. So activity are a much broader term in this sense, and animal-assisted reading is a specific form of animal-assisted therapy or activity in which children engage in reading to especially trained dogs. So many children encounter difficulties while acquiring basic reading skills, and it's really important to assist them in learning to read in order to prevent fear of reading and reading avoidance. There are lots of studies exploring the potential benefits of such interactions for improving kids' literacy skills. Some of them suggest that reading to dogs supports children in developing a more playful and positive attitude towards the act of reading through building close relationships with the assistance animals by their non-judgmental and focused attention. Other studies point out the positive effect on the environment in which the reading is practiced, leading to improving reading performance. While there is no agreement on how this magic works, there are indications that it does work. And now to digitalization in reading. So with the advance of mobile technologies, there is an explosion of works studying the benefits of using digital books as compared to standard physical ones. So while the study results are not decisive, it has been found that well-designed ebooks can aid children with learning disabilities and reading delays much better than physical books. And of course, it's clear that digitalization holds a great promise in terms of pleasurable reading experience. So nowadays, story apps support such features as embedded audio, video, cameras, selfies, background music, interactive elements, and so on. So these novel affordances can significantly enhance the experience in reading to dogs as well. So the question that we asked in this research is, how can we use digitalization in animal-assisted reading? So we moved from the physical book to the digital artifacts using mobile technology. And we did some literature review, and we decided to ground our design research on the framework presenting 6 phases of engagement in the context of digital reading. So this framework proposes guidelines how to make reading more pleasurable using mobile technology. And these dimensions refer to effectiveness, that is the feeling of belonging and inclusion, creativity, the ability to add elements to the story, interactivity, personalization, quite self-explanatory, sustainability in terms of being able to have a continued experience by choosing different books, and shared, being able to share it with others, which is very important if this is a group activity. In addition, something that is not covered by this framework, of course, because it's quite human-centric, is the role of the dog in these interactions. So the ACI community explores the dog's role and makes technology more dog-centric. So currently, the dog's role in reading interactions is quite passive. It's just sitting there. So we thought that maybe using mobile technology could also be used to make the dog a more active participant. So we considered, for instance, allowing it to push buttons on the screen. And of course, there are several works in the ACI community who explored dogs and tablets and their interactions, and we thought it would be a good starting point. So the research questions guiding our study were related to ways to enrich the experience of the child and the dog in the reading interaction. So we started with an exploratory study going through the stages of requirement elicitation, working with two partners, one in Israel and one in Russia. And then we developed mobile apps to use for tablets for these specific requirements. And then, of course, evaluating and redesigning and so on. So this circle continued. So our first field of study is the Kilvavi project, Beit Shemesh, Ra'anana, Israel. This project is a part of an effort to cultivate a multi-species and multi-generation community. And it is located in Beit Shemesh, which is a home for the elderly coping with dementia. In addition to the reading activities, the children also engage in community activities, interacting with the home tenants before the pandemic it was the case. And hopefully these activities will resume. The participants of our pilot study were a class of 9 second-grade children, ages between 7 and 8, with reading difficulties. And they visited Beit Shemesh as part of their school activity on a weekly basis, together with their 2 classroom teachers. And one important aspect to note is the environment, which is quite lovely. The activities were held outside in the designated garden of the project, where there are agility devices for the dogs and the kids to play with. And the activities were held both in group and individual. And each child was assigned a dog and a handler and performed the reading activity in some quiet corner of the garden. So I will show just a quick demonstration of the application, which was developed for the needs of this particular project. So the child can enter their name and choose the dog they are working with. Here are also buttons for the dog to push. So this was the first field of study. The second one is a project with our partners in Russia. So this is the Dogs for Life organization of canine-assisted therapy, which works in libraries in the city of St. Petersburg. And the activity is also for children between ages 6 and 10. The activities are held inside a library, so the environment is a bit different, and there are both group and individual activities. So one requirement posed by this particular organization was that it was extremely important for them that the kids learn the rules of interaction with dogs. So they requested us to include in the mobile application a kind of text teaching the kids how not to hurt the dogs, how to include them more, and how to respect them. So of course, in an engaging way. So these are the screens from this app, and they are quite interactive, and there is a quiz, and there are rules how to meet a dog and feed a dog, and so on. So to the pilot results. From the pilot, we saw that the kids using the tablets were very excited, and each time they preferred using the tablet over the regular book. Perhaps there would be some habituation effect sometime in the future. So this is for future research. They especially liked the personalization and the possibility to make selfies with the dog and include them in the story. And all of these are easy affordances of mobile technology. On the other hand, despite the fact that we trained dogs to push buttons on screens, we saw that these interactions did not flow well, and they actually distracted the child from the book. And so we felt that it was not the right way to proceed, and we decided to exclude this element in one redesign circle, in the next redesign circle. One challenge that we faced in the Israeli group is that the children with reading difficulties really had huge differences in their literacy skills. Some of them could read whole stories, while others could only read single words. And there were also children that avoided reading at all costs. So what we did to meet this challenge was also to include the possibility to play digital cards with single words. So for instance, here you see on the left, the child playing with physical cards, and on the right, this is a digital version where he can match the names of the dogs with their photos. And for those completely avoiding reading, we did not want to exclude them, so they were allowed to record their own stories. And it actually worked quite well. Another challenge I would like to mention in this community, because it's important for me to know what you all think about it. I also consulted about this issue with a researcher studying children's culture. I personally felt uncomfortable telling the children that the dogs understand the books that they are read to them, or that they understand that when they push a button, they actually choose something. So I asked this researcher what she thought would be the right way to approach this problematic topic and to make the dialogue with the child more authentic. So she suggested that the best way to proceed is not to tell the kids, but to listen to them, ask them what they think, and also let them imagine. So let them imagine what the dogs feel and what the dogs want in this kind of interaction. So an interesting question is how to incorporate these ideas into the content of the applications. So I would like to end my presentation with a question to the audience. I'm really interested to hear your reflections on this topic. I think that our pilot shows that trying to make the dog a more active participant in these kinds of interactions is not successful so far for several reasons. First of all, dogs do not need the digital space. They do not need the digital engagements. It's for the child, not for the dog. They are not interested in it, and it's not their natural elements. And in fact, the digital artifact may interrupt the flow between the kid and the dog. And also concerning the dialogue with the child and how the dog perceives button pushing. So the dog chooses the story, or the dog asks the child questions, is not authentic and should be excluded. So what is the right approach in this triangle between dogs, tech, and children? And after working on this project for more than a year, we are still asking ourselves whether technology promotes the children-dog bond in this case, or only takes them apart. So we would really love to hear your opinions about the future of the triangle dog-tech-kid interactions. And I would like to thank my wonderful partners, Daphna and Tsippy, who are also here. And thank you for our lovely collaboration. So that's all from me. And of course, I will be very interested to hear your thoughts